Despite rumors to the contrary, this week's Strange New Worlds episode was not ghost-written by Hank Ballard. Hank Ballard. Look it up. This is a review of the Serene Squall, the 7th episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. If you haven't seen the episode yet, take heed. Spoilers lie ahead. Seriously. This is a spoiler warning. There are a couple of surprising twists and or reveals in this episode in particular, and I'm going to talk about them. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, maybe come back to this video after you have, okay? Okay. If you, like me, have been playing Star Trek Premise Bingo this season, not to be confused with Enterprise Bingo, go ahead and mark the square for Enemies Take Over the Ship episode, because this is it. Although, to the credit of the writers, that's not all this episode is. It's also a good outing for Spock, highlighting his status as a person of two worlds and continuing to explore what the conflict between his Vulcan side and his human side means for both his relationship with T'Pring and his own sense of identity. It gives Captain Pike and a few of the other bridge officers a subplot where they're captured and try to gain their freedom by outsmarting their captors rather than outfighting them. But the biggest feature in the episode, the one that I imagine most of us will be talking about, is the twist that occurs midway through. The twist involves this week's featured guest star, Jesse James Keitel, who plays a character introduced to us as Dr. Aspen, a humanitarian worker who enlists Pike's Enterprise to search for a group of colonists lost beyond the edge of Federation space in a region home to a notorious pirate ship called the Serene Squall. Keitel is non-binary and uses she, her pronouns. Dr. Aspen, her character, is also non-binary and uses they, them pronouns. Keitel has racked up an impressive resume of credits over the last few years, but this is the first time I've actually seen her in something. She's good. She's very good. And this episode certainly gives her an opportunity to show off a bit of range as an actor, because I'm telling you, this is the last chance you're going to have to avoid having the big twist spoiled for you if you haven't actually seen the episode. All right, here it comes. Because it turns out Keitel's character is not actually Dr. Aspen, but is in fact Captain Angel, commander of the Serene Squall. The humanitarian mission, the colonists, all a ruse to draw out the Enterprise, and Pike, compassionate fool he is, fell for it hook, line, and sinker. It's a big twist, and a very gutsy choice on the part of the writers of the show. Prior to the twist, Dr. Aspen is quiet, sensitive, and insightful. After the turn, they become the sneering embodiment of theatrical villainy, and Keitel does great in both modes. But it's such an abrupt change that it could sink the entire episode if it doesn't land just right. In fact, watching the episode, it took me a few minutes to work out if I liked it or not. The twist happened. My first reaction was something like, oh, shit. And then that was immediately followed by, I don't know about this. As the episode went on, I realized that the twist did work for me. A lot of it was Keitel's performance, which again, in both crusading do-gooder mode and slinky evil pirate mode, is terrific. But it was also the way the twist fits in with where the episode was already going thematically. It feels out of nowhere when it happens, which is the whole point of a plot twist. But once the surprise settles out, you realize that Captain Angel's ploy, pretending to be someone they're not, goes along with what the rest of the episode is saying about identity, pretense, and things not being what they seem to be. While Captain Angel knows exactly who they are, what they want, and what they are capable of doing to get it, we see Spock struggling with those things. There's a scene relatively early on between Spock and Angel, still pretending to be Aspen, where Angel proposes that Spock is non-binary, not in terms of his gender identity, but his cultural identity. He is half human genetically. He has been raised and chosen to live as a Vulcan. But perhaps he is neither of those. Perhaps he shouldn't try to fit into either box. We've seen Spock dealing with these issues of identity in previous episodes of this show this season, not to mention numerous other instances from elsewhere in the franchise. So we know this is something that is on Spock's mind a lot, which makes this a very provocative scene. There's also the moment on the bridge that precedes that scene, when Pike asks Spock to trust his gut instinct on which of two possible targets to attack in order to free the Enterprise from a trap. Being asked to do the more typically human thing, to act on a hunch, makes Spock very uncomfortable. It's a side of himself he doesn't like to embrace, or at least doesn't like to admit that he likes to embrace. The Captain Angel twist fits in with the episode's larger theme of deception as well. Angel pretends to be someone they are not in order to capture the Enterprise, but that is also not everything it appears to be. Sure, stealing the Enterprise is nice, Angel says, but their real purpose was to capture Spock in order to use him to pressure T'Pring, who works at a Vulcan criminal rehabilitation center, to release a prisoner. Angel's lover. Spock, with help from Nurse Chapel, prevents that prisoner exchange from taking place through another act of deception, telling T'Pring that he and Chapel have been having an affair. Actually, it's Chapel who says it. Spock can't quite get the words out, prompting T'Pring to break up with him and fuck off out of there, spoiling Angel's plans. There's more going on with Spock and Chapel as well. She clearly has feelings for him, but is hiding them. She tells Spock that she likes him because, as a Vulcan, he's honest. She always knows where she stands with him, but it was Spock's capacity for deception, strategic though it was, that thwarted the prisoner transfer. And Chapel herself is not being honest with Spock about her feelings. So there are a few nicely constructed layers there between those characters. There's a theme of deception in Captain Pike's subplot too. Captured by members of Angel's pirate crew while on an away mission aboard the Serene Squall, Pike decides his best shot is to try and start a mutiny among the pirates. So he talks their leader into allowing him to cook the pirates a proper meal and immediately begins sowing seeds of dissent, pointing out that the leader seems to be the only one who doesn't like Pike's cooking, and gently chiding him for taking so much disrespect from the people under his command. Then Pike, number one, and the rest of the imprisoned Enterprise crew do the same thing to the pirate who guards them. And it works! The conflict with Captain Angel ends when Pike and company take control of the Serene Squall and remotely disable the Enterprise's weapons using its prefix codes. There's a funny button to that scene where Pike and number one ask Spock to put a rush on beaming them out as we see signs of angry pirates about to storm the bridge. Apparently, our hero's control of the pirate ship isn't too stable. This episode takes a lot of chances, but perhaps the biggest is all the wild shifts in tone it sustains. Somehow, Pike's subplot, where he and several members of his crew are captured by murderous, slave-trading pirates, becomes a sitcom. The scenes where Pike, number one, Ortegas, and the others attempt to sow dissension in the ranks of the pirates are very broad, especially in comparison to the scenes aboard the captured Enterprise. And near the end, after the heroes have retaken the ship, we get a scene of Pike back in his captain's chair doing a cartoon pirate voice, telling number one, "Arg, if we ever catch that Captain Angel, we should make them walk the plank." Notice, by the way, that he uses Angel's correct pronouns. Even when someone turns out to be a horrible person, you still use their right goddamn pronouns. Just a good thing to remember for general purposes. And then the episode ends with the reveal that Angel's lover is actually Spock's long-lost half-brother, Sybok, under an assumed name. So there's the other big reveal in the episode. I hope my spoiler warnings were taken seriously. How do I feel about that reveal? As a lifelong Star Trek fan and someone who has never understood the backlash against Sybok, I think it's fine. I'm generally not in favor of Easter egg-based storytelling, which is one of the main reasons I don't love Lower Decks. But if Sybok turns out to be a good character in a good story in this show, and not just a reference that we're meant to recognize, then I'm all for it. And given the quality of Strange New Worlds so far, I'm confident that will turn out to be the case. This wasn't the best episode of the season, but it's maybe the most interesting, and definitely the riskiest. There's the big twist, there's the Sybok reveal, and there are those tonal shifts, which are drastic and jarring to say the least. But somehow, because this cast is phenomenal and because it's all stitched together thematically, in the end, it works. It's uneven, occasionally kind of clumsy, but it gets where it's going. Well, those are my thoughts. Please share your thoughts with me in the comments. If you want to support my channel, you can become a patron at patreon.com/Steve Shives, or become a channel member by clicking the join button, or make a one-time gift via the thanks button below the video, or PayPal or Venmo. Links to all of those are in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week for a review of Episode 8.